a people with a cursed origin who spread through a land that God had promised to Israel, but that was filled with dark rituals, unthinkable practices, and a religion led by gods who demanded the unimaginable. Behind the names Baal, Ashtoreth, and Moloch was a macabre spiritual system where even children were sacrificed on demonic altars. And the most shocking part, these horrible gods nearly overtook Israel. What does the Bible really reveal about the origin of these people, and why did God order their total destruction? From the earliest chapters of Genesis, we are led to understand that nothing in the Bible happens by chance. The genealogies, often overlooked, are like spiritual roots that sustain the great movements of sacred history. In Genesis 10:6, the name of Canaan appears for the first time, and the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan. A name that at first seems just another among many post-flood descendants, but when analyzed in the full light of Scripture, reveals itself as the origin of a people that would profoundly mark Israel's path, not just politically, but spiritually. If the colonel saw the...
All right, I guess I have to interrupt. So, first I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutation to all the brothers and the few sisters out there. Unto his like foreigners from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Shalom in the Hebrew, which means peace. This is the most racist depiction of anything. If you haven't peeped what is being said or being done in this particular video, shout out to Elder Yashawamba. I saw him, but he posted it up, but so I'm looking at it. I'm like, why is it like, why would he put that there? He always does that, but what's so good about this thing? So I'm seeing this. I'm like, all right, it finally, Canaan was black. That's what they consider black. But then I see that they had Noah, the guy who's supposed to be looking, I guess supposed to be Noah. He looking completely different. This is where I stopped it at. I didn't even go no further than this. So this is supposed to be Noah, and all those black images is supposed to be Canaan. Canaan is the son of Ham. All right. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me get back to this a little bit. I gotta put the volume up. That's where I was rudely interrupted.
Roots that sustain the great movements of sacred history. In Genesis 10:6, the name of Canaan appears for the first time, and the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan. A name that at first seems just another among many post-flood descendants, but when analyzed in the full light of Scripture, reveals itself as the origin of a people that would profoundly mark.
So right there, they're giving you a hint, right? They're showing the picture, but what he said was correct, and then what he's about to say, this is
Israel's path, not just politically, but spiritually.
So it's politically and spiritually. So they're showing the image. So in your mind, because everybody was dark skinned back then. All right. So that wasn't a nuance, a new thing. That wasn't a new thing under the sun. But look this is how the devil plays games.
The most curious and unsettling part is that Canaan was not cursed for his own actions, but for something his father, Ham, did. In Genesis 9,
which is correct. When Noah cursed Canaan, all right, he didn't curse Ham. So that whole Mormon religion is based on bullshit. That's purely racism, all right? Because they try to say that Ham became black. So simultaneously, in this little snippet, I didn't even really watch the rest. This little snippet, they show this man who's all these grapes that you see in the floor, which the grapes were much bigger than that. But all you grapes that you see in the floor is supposed to be, if you read Genesis, was it the 10th chapter? No. I believe the 9th chapter. 10th, 9th, no, yeah, 9th chapter. This is supposed to be Noah. All right. So wait a minute. So Noah was this color, and Ham and Canaan was that. Hey, the devil's a liar. This is why we say the things that we say. All right, we say these things because we speak the truth. If the scripture says, matter of fact, let's go to the basic stuff. That's foul, yo. I didn't even get to watch the rest. I just like, what the fudge? Boom. What it says here. Genesis 2:7. It says, and the Lord Yahweh formed man from the dust of the ground. So the dust of the ground is what, ladies and gentlemen? If you emulate the ground and the ground became a person, what color would it be? Do you ever see white, quote unquote, dirt? No. Did it say sand? No. All right. The dust or the ground, soil, or humus. Humus is the darkest, richest soil that is out there. All right. You're talking about dark chocolate, darker than that. So, and this is the Lord talking about. He made man from dust of the ground. It says, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So, if you do not even the comparisons, if you just use your common sense, that would be dark brown. All right. Ecclesiastes 33, 10, 33 and 10, I believe, or 33 and 9. I say 10. All men are from the ground, and Adam was created of earth. So all men had a hue color to them. Now let me ask, let me Google this. Googling. Um, dust of the ground. Let's go for meaning. The reference to the biblical creation based on concept, Genesis 2:7, the human bodies were formed from the earth elements before receiving the breath of life, that's correct. All right, that's why you have all natural minerals flowing through your body, zinc, copper, okay, all the things that we call it selenium, all the things that's found in the ground is found within us. That's why you can digest silver, gold. Okay, it's good for the body. Even the herbs are from the ground. It's good for the body. It says, and the connection between humanity and the earth. It emphasizes the dependency of the Most High and earthly nature of the physical body, which is terrain. Right? Now we'll just see if it's any smart. It's not gonna say nothing. I was gonna say I was gonna just boom. I was gonna say see if he was gonna say what color it is. All right, earth of the ground meaning. Let's try color. Come on, man. You can't even make this shit up. You can't make this up. It says dust of the ground, often associated with the soil, which I broke down the word for humus, where the term human come from. All right, human is a compound word. Hue, color, man, men, men of hue, men of color, right? But when you look into the word humus, which I'm going to do that too. Matter of fact, let me just read this real quick. It says the dust of the ground, often associated with soil, typically present in shades of brown. I mean, I could just stop right there. Then it says gray, tan, sometimes red, which is not the characteristics. So we know, like we know, it says the key color characteristics of the earth and soil, thus brown and tan. The most common color reflect varied organic soil. And it says, does okay, here, this is the devil for you. It doesn't explicitly describe the skin color of humanity, but rather the reference of the earthly, which it tells you the skin color. And then this is where they get everybody. The root word of man, Adam, is linked to Edom, which is not red, often interpreted as reddish brown or clay colored. That is wrong. Okay, Adam, which from the ground, Adama from the ground. It doesn't mean red. Okay, this is how the devil put his shit in it. It tells you, oh, it don't describe the color of man, but it tells you, oh, but Adam means Edom. Why would the Lord call out of all people the first man on the earth, Adam, and he can't stand and he hates Edom? So that's the devil for you. Humus definition. I kept saying it. The organic compound of soil formed by the decomposition of leaves, often plant. This goes an image. Humus, material made in decomposition. What color does that look to you? What color is that? So if all men come from Adam, all men were of this color. The only person in the beginning, which I gotta go back to this, Ecclesiastes. When you go into Genesis 4:7, actually not 7. It says, boom, Genesis 4:10. 9. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? Yahweh did not go directly to him. It tells you in Hebrews 1:1 that the Lord spoke in time past to man by the prophets. Even in the beginning of the world, so to speak, there was always a prophet. That was the in the cool of the was it cool of the day? That was talking about a prophet. All right. And so the Lord talking through the prophet and telling Cain this, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? So this is the first crime, the first murder on the earth was conducted by whom? Cain. Right? This is the descendants of Adam and Eve. And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. Why? Because his spirit was crying unto the Lord, which goes into, let me just use the other one. This one. Revelation, I was going to get the one in Genesis, but because the word Abel means transition. So that was an omen of it. It says Genesis 2, 6, and 9. Well, no, 10 to the point. Now, you know what? I started at 9. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar of the souls of them that were slain for the word of the Most High, and for the testimony which they held. And he cried with a loud voice, saying, how long, O Lord, how holy and true doest thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth. So when the spirit of Abel went back to the father, he was crying unto the Lord. So the Lord knew what took place, but Cain had that wicked spirit on him. Yes, within Adam were good and evil. Okay, he was the father of good and evil, which is spiritual, because the first Adam was who? Yahweh Shai. All right, Yahweh Shai was Adam. There was men before him. He came through the lineage of men, but he was the first Adam, first one that had the spirit of life in him, knowing the law, statutes, and commandments. That's why the scripture says, because all people was created, Genesis 1, I believe it's 20. Get that real quick, or is it 22? Genesis 1 and 21. And the Elohim created great wells and every living creature that moved, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind. So everything came from the waters. Everything, including men. Let's go go here real quick. Come back to this. Second Ezra 6. It gotta be 52. Was it 50? I could start at 52. As a matter of fact, actually it's here, 48. 47. And upon the fifth day, thou settest unto the seventh part, where the waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls and fishes. And so it came to pass. For the dumb water and without life brought forth living things at the commandment of the Most High, right? That all people might praise thy wondrous works. And thou didst ordain two living creatures the same day. Two living creatures. One that was called Enoch, which was man. All right. It wasn't anything else. Enoch was man. So on the fifth day, man was created. And the other Leviathan, which is the sea creature, was the dragon. It says, and that did it separate one from another from the seventh part, namely where the water was gathered together, might not hold them both. So man was created from the same waters, came out the waters. That's how when a woman has a child, what are the waters of the womb, right? Women's uterus. When women they foremother Eve. Eve means farm. So the husbandman plants the seed. All right, he breaks the ground. He breaks the ground, plant the seed. So you have a very important role to reproduction, which y'all know naturally, right? But you are the Eve, you're the earth, a piece of the earth. But the man holds the seed, and the seed moves in the waters of life. So it's the man that carries life. All right, that's why he plants the seed. Let's gotta put that out there. It says that Enoch that gave us one part, which was to dry up the third day, that they should dwell in the same part wherein 1,000 hills, which is land. But unto Leviathan that gave us the seventh part, namely the moist, and has kept him to be devoured of whom thou wilt and when. the sea creature, the whole concept of Godzilla, right? And that wasn't just a genius idea. That was because there's actual living creature. This is the race of Leviathan, and the Lord is going to use Leviathan in these latter days. Upon the sixth day, that giveth commandment unto the earth, that before it shall bring forth beasts, cattle, and creeping things, and after these Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of them all, all thy creatures. Of him come we all, and people also whom thou hast chosen. So we all come from Adam. All right, this particular Adam. So that's why, I did this before. Try to make this quick, but hey, it is what it is. Genesis 2 and, right, 2 and 23. And Adam said, this is now the bone of my bones, the flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. So the bone of his bone, the flesh of his flesh, is not talking about Lord operated on Adam, put him to sleep, and cut up his rib. No, it's talking about within that family. Which one is the quickest one? Which I don't, you know what? And that's why I'm just gonna quote it. when Laban, when Jacob came to Laban and he told him who he was, he called him what? You surely are my flesh, the blood of the bone of my bone. Meaning you're my family, you're my kinsman. That was just hip talk back then. But here's the point. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, shall cleave unto his wife, which wife means servant, a female servant, a woman. Women are men's servants, a helpmeet. Okay? And they shall be one flesh. And when they become one flesh, what that means, they create life. Genesis, I'm just going to the basic stuff of 5 and 1. It says, this is the book of the generations of Adam in the day. So it wasn't Adam and Eve by themselves, and Adam and Eve had Cain and Abel, and they had sex with their mother to create all. No, there was other people there. There was other nations there. And it says, verse 2, male and female created he them. So men and women were created on the same day. Okay? Bless them and call their name Adam. So all men that came from the same stock were called Adam. All right? Meaning what? From the ground. Once again, the rich soil is not no fucking red. The richest soil is dark chocolate. It says in the day when they were created. So go back to Genesis 4 and 11. It says, and now art thou cursed from the earth. So Cain was cursed from the earth. Okay? Which have opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto her strength. This is why a particular people, wherever they go, is desolate. It grows, but it grows fully. Why? Because that's the curse of Cain. Before America was inhabited, the Americas was inhabited by a certain people. It was rich. It was paradise. After they put their foot in here, damn near America looks like a desert. Why? Because that's the curse of Cain. Everything's reincarnated, whether you want to believe it or not. Reincarnated means back incarnated back into the flesh. This is why it's good to read or know the Old Testament, why the Lord did the things that he did. It says, in his more characteristics, a fugitive and a vagabond shall that be in the earth. So wherever Cain or his descendants go, there will be fugitive and vagabonds. All right? Wild individuals, wild men. They never could settle, never could be in one place. And Cain said unto the Lord Yahweh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. So what did he do? He bitched up. He committed a crime, which is the first murder. It wasn't the first killing, it was the first murder. He thought about it, he plotted against his brother and slayed him. It says, behold, that have driven me out of this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, therefore, whosoever slave Cain, vengeance shall be taken unto him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, and he shall find him and shall kill him. What was that mark? That mark was he was different from anybody else. This is why a particular people on the planet Earth, they always were concerned about the numbers. They're always concerned about that they're depleting, because these people have the spirit of Cain and they're the descendants of Esau. So this was technically the first Caucasian, the first um, people to have leprosy, which I'm going to get that real quick. Genesis 13 and 13. Then the priest shall consider it, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall be pronounced him clean that have the plague. It is all turned white. He is clean. So leprosy in the flesh of one particular color, when it's reddish, that's leprosy. So what if they didn't have leprosy? How people was original? Numbers 12 and 10. And the cloud departed from the tabernacle. Behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not this sin upon us when we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, but coming out of this mother's womb. So being a leopard, leprosy, or Caucasian, however you want to call it, is a curse. And this is biblical. Not the bullshit. I forgot the guy's name. The creator of the what you call it again? Mormon speaks of. All right. That was a curse. So to look a certain way, all right, to be a leopard is to have to be what they consider to be pale skin. So going back to the original, now they go to Genesis. I believe it's Genesis the 9th chapter. I haven't read it in a while. Genesis, right, 9 and 20. And Noah began to be a husbandman and planted a vineyard. So this is right after the flood. The water exceeded, and since the water exceeded, Noah He was stressed out, so to speak. So he planted a vineyard so he could have some happy juice, which was nothing wrong with that. All right, nothing wrong with drinking. It says he drunk of the wine which he worked hard for and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. So he was so drunk, hey, he was half naked. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brethren without, Shem and Japheth. So he told him, like, yeah, look, our father was naked, right? It says, and took the garment and laid it upon him, upon both their shoulders, and went backwards and covered the nakedness of their father. And their face were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness. Why? Because that was the law. Matter of fact, boom, boom, boom. Leviticus, I haven't read this in a while. I know it's at 18, about right here. Leviticus 18 and 7. Sorry, 6. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. The nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother that shall not uncover. She is thy father. That let me see. Yeah, that sorry. She is that mother. I'll say, thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. So you're not supposed to see your parents naked. Okay, that was the law. Before it was written, it was well known. So when Ham, what he did, he went off. Okay, and it says, and Noah, back to Genesis 9 and 24, and Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son, have done unto him. So we don't know. And he said, "Curse be Canaan." Why would he curse Ham's son? Why would he curse Ham's son? And here's a crazy part. So it says, "Curse be Canaan, a servant of his servants shall he be unto his brethren." And it describes to us exactly why Canaan was cursed for. He wasn't cursed because of blackness, like they would try to tell. He was cursed because what his father did, and it tells you the Pacific curse that he was going to be a servant. That's it, not because of his color. So what the fuck are they? It shows you that the whole thing. See, they could easily say, "Oh, black people are cursed," when they got the narrative, when they control everything. Well, we're not stupid. It's written in here in the scriptures. It says the complete opposite. And Canaan wasn't cursed with blackness because all people were, at that time were of color. Okay, they didn't come from Noah and his three sons was not the descendants of Cain. Cain had his descendants. Most likely, they all looked like him. All right, and Seth had his descendants. These these were the children of Seth because everything started over again. And he says, verse 26, and he said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and Canaan shall be a servant." So they told us the truth. They told us what? What did they tell us? Go back to this real quick.
In the full light of Scripture, Cush and Mizraim and Phut and Canaan.
So Ham was the father of Mizraim, Put, Canaan, and Cush. These are all what they'll say the African nations. So Ham was the father of that. But Mizraim, Put, and Cush didn't have the same curse as Canaan did. Okay? Yeah, they are the fathers of the African, those Hamitic nations. But they were
A name that at first seems just another among many post-flood descendants, but when analyzed in the full light of Scripture, reveals itself as the origin of a people that would profoundly mark Israel's path. Not just
which was what? They was in the land. And when they was in the land, the Lord didn't get rid of them because they had to build up the land for us. Okay? That's what he meant by
politically, but spiritually.
Politically and spiritually, because they had to go off. When you read Wisdom of Solomon, 12th chapter, tells us the things that they were doing. All right? And why they would judge the way they would judge. The same way Sodom and Gomorrah was judged. Why was Sodom and Gomorrah judged for? Yes, obviously for the acts that they were doing, but the Lord is not a man that would not allow, he would not punish a person if they don't know. They knew. They knew exactly the laws. They knew exactly what they was not supposed to do. Who was their father? Noah. Everything back then was tradition, oral tradition. Okay. So the descendants of Canaan that was in the land had to set up shop, had to be in the land of the Lord, and ensure that the future of the Israelites was going to be there. So that was their curse. Their curse was to hold the land for us until the Lord see it fit that we were to take the land. They had nothing to do there with their
curious and
their
unsettling
complexion.
part is that Canaan was not cursed for his own actions, but for something his father, Ham.
Why? Because Ham, that's what reincarnation. Why would he be punished for something that he did not do? Because of reincarnation. He was going to come back one of his descendants. All right? That's Ham was going to come back to one of his descendants. That's the answer to that. Everybody else would come up with some BS bullshit because everybody tries to say Ham was cursed. Ham wasn't cursed. It was Canaan. And the curse of Canaan was that he was going to be a servant unto whom? He's going to be a servant unto the Israelites.
Did. In Genesis 9:22 to 25, we read the account of Noah drunk, and Ham, seeing the nakedness of his father, commits an act that, though shrouded in mystery, carries a deep spiritual weight. Then Noah declares, "Cursed be Canaan."
See, cursed be Esau, because they put bullshit like this to depict as if the holy people looked like this, and the dark-skinned people with a curse, when it was a complete difference. Now, are Israelites gonna all come out dark-skinned? No, we're scattered. We were scattered, but we're gonna look like the nations. It's not about a color thing; it's about a truth thing. The people in the beginning of time were all dark-skinned people, point blank, period. And the distinguished mark that was upon Cain was leprosy. That's just the way it is. And then that thing came back again through whom? Esau, Edom. All right, who was red all over like a hairy garment. He wasn't hairy. So this whole fiasco, that was just blatant racism. So with that being said, shalom to the elect of the nations. Shalom.